Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Britain, a driver plowed into a crowd of Muslims near a North London mosque today, killing one person and injuring 8 others in what British officials are calling a terrorist attack. Witnesses described a large white man driving a van who accelerated and swerved into a crowd of worshippers who'd left nighttime prayers marking the Muslim holy month of Ramadan.
Basically drove on the pavement, coming straight towards all the Muslims, and as he's coming to them, he hit all of them, and I think one of them died. One of them died straight away. One of them died, and then the rest are in a bad condition.
So can you give me, how many people did you see lying injured on the floor, trying to remember?
About 7, 8.
And they were seriously injured? Seriously injured.
And then as the police come, they moved all of us quick.
One witness said the driver shouted, "I want to kill Muslims." Survivors of the attack pinned the man to the ground until police arrived on the scene and arrested him. British Prime Minister Theresa May said police are treating the incident as a terrorist attack. It was the 3rd time in recent weeks in Britain an attacker used a vehicle as a weapon aimed at pedestrians. In Virginia, police arrested 22-year-old Darwin Martinez-Torres Sunday for allegedly murdering a 17-year-old Muslim teenager after she left a restaurant following nighttime prayers in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Sterling. Nabra Hassanan disappeared early Sunday after she and a group of friends were confronted by a motorist outside a 24-hour IHOP near her mosque, the Old Dulles Area Muslim Society. Police found Hassanan's remains Sunday afternoon in a nearby pond. She was reportedly killed by blows from a metal bat. A recent study by the Council on American Islamic Affairs showed anti-Muslim hate crimes surged in 2016 over the previous year, rising by 44%. In Minnesota, protesters took to the streets Sunday for a 3rd straight day after a St. Anthony police officer was acquitted Friday in the killing of a black man he shot 5 times during a traffic stop last year. Officer Geronimo Yanez was acquitted on charges of manslaughter for killing African-American motorist Philando Castile. The jury of 7 men and 5 women, 10 of whom were white and 2 African-American, deliberated for more than 25 hours over 5 days before acquitting Yanez on all charges. This is Philando Castile's sister, Alize, speaking just after Friday's verdict.
And I'm really just so hurt because he took away something so precious from me. That was my brother, that was my mentor, that was my father figure, that was everything. That man worked hard every single day, every birthday, every Christmas. He was the one that made sure I had gifts. He didn't deserve to die the way he did. And I will never have faith in this system. I will never have faith in this system.
Philando Castile's death was live-streamed on Facebook by his girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, in an extraordinary video in which she narrated the aftermath of the shooting while she was still in the car, with Officer Yanez pointing a gun at her and her 4-year-old daughter. On Friday evening, about 2,000 demonstrators gathered outside Minnesota's state capitol in St. Paul to demand police accountability. Several protesters blocked a main interstate between St. Paul and Minneapolis, resulting in 18 arrests. Peaceful demonstrations continued throughout the weekend. For more on the killing, we'll go to the Twin Cities after headlines. In the Western Pacific, the U.S. Navy says it has recovered the bodies of 7 missing sailors who died after their warship collided with a cargo ship off the coast of Japan. Saturday's collision nearly sank the U.S.S. Fitzgerald, a naval destroyer, and came despite clear weather conditions. In Iraq, a U.S.-led military coalition has begun its assault on Mosul's Old City, a densely populated urban area, and the last stronghold of ISIS in the northern Iraqi city. The UN said Friday as many as 150,000 people remain trapped in the district, describing their situation as desperate. Residents of western Mosul who were able to escape described scenes of starvation.
We have nothing to eat, no flour, no rice. Just nothing at all. We had to eat grass and made grass soup to feed our children. The leaves even cost 7,000 dinars per kilogram.
There were reports of heavy fighting and close-quarters battles in Mosul's old city, with unconfirmed reports that more than a dozen civilians were killed in U.S.-led airstrikes over the weekend. In Syria, U.S. fighters shot down a Syrian warplane Sunday in the latest direct attack on a Syrian government target. The Pentagon said it downed the plane after it bombed U.S.-backed anti-government rebels. Meanwhile, the United Nations said an estimated 200,000 civilians remain trapped in the city of Raqqa as a U.S.-led coalition pounds the city in a campaign against ISIS. The UN says the airstrikes have killed at least 300 civilians in Raqqa since March. In the United States, one of Donald Trump's personal attorneys insisted Sunday the president is not under investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller as part of an investigation into alleged Russian meddling in November's election. The comments by the lawyer, Jay Sekulow, directly contradict President Trump's tweet Friday, which read, "I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt." Sekulow made the rounds on Sunday morning's talk shows to deny that Trump is under investigation, but during a heated exchange with Fox News host Chris Wallace, Sekulow contradicted his own denials.
So he's being investigated for taking the action that the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General recommended him to take by the agency who recommended the termination. So that's the constitutional threshold question here. That's why, as I said, no investigation.
What's the question? I mean, you stated some facts. First of all, you've now said that he is being investigated after saying that you didn't.
No.
You just said,
no, he's
sir,
not being investigated.
you just said that he's being investigated.
6 members of the Presidential Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS have resigned, saying President Trump doesn't care about HIV. They announced their resignations in a joint letter published in Newsweek, headlined, "Trump doesn't care about HIV, we're out of here." In the letter, they wrote, quote, "As advocates for people living with HIV, we've dedicated our lives to combating this disease and no longer feel we can do so effectively within the confines of an advisory body to a president who simply does not care." Later in the broadcast, we'll speak with Scott Chodas, one of the 6 people who resigned. President Trump said Friday he would reverse the normalization of relations between the U.S. and Cuba, reimposing travel and trade restrictions less than a year after President Obama relaxed the decades-old U.S. embargo on the island. The move drew outrage across Cuba. This is Havana resident Pedro Diaz.
Cuba's not scared. We Cubans are not going to be scared. We've gone through much more. We got through the October Cuban Missile Crisis, and we're willing to go through many crises, not just October, but December, September, and the coming months. We're ready, Mr. President Trump, for all your antics. There you are. If you were going to pay the Miami Mafia, at some point, you will pay.
President Trump's order will prohibit all business with companies that are linked to the Cuban military, which is involved in much of the hotel and tourism industries. Last year, Newsweek reported Donald Trump's businesses violated the U.S. embargo during the late 90s, secretly doing business in Cuba, then trying to cover it up. The U.S. Commission on Civil Rights has launched an investigation into whether the Trump administration is failing to protect civil rights amid steep cuts to budgets and staffing levels across the federal government. In a statement, commissioners said, quote, "These proposed cuts would result in a dangerous reduction of civil rights enforcement across the country, leaving communities of color, LGBT people, older people, people with disabilities, and other marginalized groups exposed to greater risk of discrimination," end quote. The probe came as the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights said it has ended an investigation into the case of a transgender Ohio student who says she was harassed at school and barred from using the girls' bathroom. Meanwhile, BuzzFeed is reporting the Commerce Department has removed any mention of gender identity and sexual orientation from its equal opportunity employment statement on the department's website. Back in the United Kingdom, hundreds of protesters stormed a town hall in London Friday, demanding justice for those killed when the 24-story Grenfell Tower apartment building went up in flames last week. Police scuffled with scores of angry residents shouting, "We want justice," and "They let our children burn."
Some people are only coming here to look at the building, and what we actually need to do is come here and have justice for the people that are suffering families and people that were in the fire, the victims. And I feel like
it's a lot of
not fair.
It's a lot of injustice and negligence from the government and the council. The death shouldn't have happened. Like, so many kids died, so many families were lost.
Police said today the death toll from the blaze rose to at least 79, with dozens more injured. London Mayor Sadiq Khan called the fire a preventable accident that followed years of neglect by successive governments.
People who live in tower blocks across London but around the country being sick to death whether their tower block is safe. We need to know as soon as possible whether those tower blocks are safe, and there's to be as much transparency as possible. The
company that recently renovated Grenfell Tower admitted over the weekend it used highly flammable yet less expensive cladding during construction. The cladding's banned from use in U.S. and European Union but allowed in Britain. In Pennsylvania, prosecutors say they will retry Bill Cosby on criminal sexual assault charges after a jury deadlocked over whether to convict the comedian on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. The mistrial means Cosby will once again face charges he drugged and sexually assaulted Andrea Constan, the former director of operations for the women's basketball team at Temple University, at Cosby's home in 2004. Constan is one of about 60 women who've accused Cosby of sexual assaults dating back decades. And in Arizona, a humanitarian aid group helping migrant border crossers says U.S. Border Patrol officers raided their medical aid encampment, arresting 4 migrants and endangering the lives of others. Last Thursday's raid on the No More Deaths encampment, about 15 miles from the Mexican border in the U.S., reversed an informal policy under the Obama administration that for years saw Border Patrol agents allow the group to provide water, food, shelter, and medical aid to migrants. In a statement, No More Deaths said, "The targeting of this critical medical aid is a shameful reflection of the current administration's disregard for the lives of migrants and refugees, making an already dangerous journey even more deadly," unquote. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.